Can you really explode your e-commerce sales from Google Ads simply by making a few specific changes to your product pages? Well, in today's video, we're going to be sharing with you a case study that did exactly that, where we made a few changes to the product pages for this particular company and managed to dramatically increase their return on ad spend and their revenue and scale their Google Ads within a few short months. And it was all by making the exact changes that we're going to be sharing with you inside today's video. So if you're excited about seeing exactly how to optimize the crap out of your product pages so that you can start to scale your Google Ads results for your e-commerce store, then sit tight, buckle up, and we're going to get into the top most important changes that you can make to your product pages to dramatically increase the conversions you're getting from your ad campaigns. So before we get into the case study and the specific recommendations that I know you're here for, why do we actually want to optimize our product pages in the first place? Well, the answer might seem obvious. Yeah, we want more sales. We want a better conversion rate. We want to see more of the clicks that we're paying for translating into purchases and driving more revenue for us. But there are actually three other important reasons as to why you should be optimizing your product pages, especially if you're running Google Ads to your e-commerce store. Number one, you're going to get more conversion data to your campaigns and to your bidding algorithms inside those campaigns. So if you're running Performance Max, if you're running Google Shopping, or even if you're running search campaigns that have a target return on ad spend objective, which they should, generally speaking, you're going to want to have more conversion data through those campaigns in order for them to behave and perform more consistently and more predictably. So having a better conversion rate means that you're getting obviously more sales and more conversions from the same ad spend, but it also means your campaigns are getting much more data from the same ad spend, which means that in turn, they are going to be more consistent in performance and you're more likely to be able to hit your return on ad spend goal, which obviously means you're more likely to be profitable. So that's really the second reason, is that the more data that's coming through them, the more predictable they're going to be, the more consistent they're going to be, and the more likely they are to behave in the way that you want, which is actually drive revenue at a profitable return. But the third reason, which is implied by this, is that you are then able to scale your campaigns much larger, spend more, and still remain profitable. So if there's more conversion data, if you're converting better, and if you're driving more revenue for the same ad spend, well, that means there's more traffic out there that you can spend on profitably. And when you have that better conversion rate, you can actually then start to scale your campaign and buy more of that traffic and increase the spend in your account and therefore grow your overall business. Now, to really hammer this point home, I want to share with you how much an impact conversion rate has on your bottom line when it comes to comparing it to other metrics that you can optimize within your account and outside of your account. So in this case here, let's just say that this is our baseline level of metrics, right? So we've got a few numbers here that are crucial to any e-commerce store. We've got our average order value, which is in this case $100. We have a 50% margin. So every order that's $100, we make $50. Let's say our ad budget is $10,000, and let's say the cost per click is about $2, which means we get about 5,000 clicks per month. So if our landing page conversion rate is 2%, that means that we're driving 10,000 in revenue, 100 conversions or 100 orders, and we're hitting a 1x return on ad spend. Well, we need a 2x return on ad spend in order to break even. So we're actually losing $5,000 in this case. Now, just to give you a comparison to improving the conversion rate compared to improving some other metrics in the account, let's take a look at a few of these. If we improve our average order value by 50%, going through the same numbers, the same conversion rate, we end up with still a loss of $2,500. If we improve our margins by about 50%, we end up with a loss of $3,400. If we lower our cost per click by 40%, we still end up losing money. And if we combine all of these together, we end up finally making a profit. But wow, we've done a lot of work to get there. And now we're $2,300 in the green. But if we just take our conversion rate and everything else stays the same, if we just take our conversion rate and increase it from 2% to 5% by adding a few elements to the page, by making a few small tweaks to our product pages, we all of a sudden end up with more profit than increasing all of these other metrics combined. So we end up with a $2,500 profit with a 5% conversion rate, even when the average order value is the same, the margin is the same, and our cost per click is higher than it was with this example here. This is now profitable. But the ultimate case, if we're able to do the best possible optimization across all of these and increase all of them at the same time, with a better average order value, better margins, a lower cost per click, and a better conversion rate, all of a sudden, we end up with a $21,000 net profit at the end of the day. So you can see how all of these improvements multiply together do drive an exponential increase in the return you get, but that the most crucial one of all of them that does more of the heavy lifting than all of the others combined is actually increasing the conversion rate of your product pages. So with that, let's get into the case study and show you exactly how it can impact a real account once you start to implement these improvements. So here we are in a Google Ads account. I've obviously blurred out the name of the account, but I'm going to share with you some of the numbers here that we were able to achieve through simply implementing some of the improvements that we're about to go through. So for most of the previous year in 2022, this account was averaging less than a 1% conversion rate. Now, they were still profitable, but they were very much limited in what they could spend, because as soon as they tried to spend more, all of a sudden the return on ad spend they were getting was starting to lose money and they simply could not scale. Well, within a single month, which is pretty unbelievable, they went from a 0.6% conversion rate to nearly a 3% conversion rate. And yeah, we're not even hitting 5% in this case, but here's what it did to the revenue and to the return on ad spend. So if I go to our conversion value, we went from going from maybe in good months, 80, 70 to 80,000, in bad months, 40 to 50,000 to 60,000. We went from that level to within a few months driving almost 170,000 in revenue, which you can see here. And if I go to our actual return on ad spend, you can see that we went from driving less than a 3x return on ad spend and sometimes slightly higher than a 3x, all the way to driving almost a 5.5x return on ad spend consistently, and continuing to do so for many months after that initial boost. So now I'm going to get into what I know you've been waiting for, which is the actual specific improvements that you need to add to your product pages. So let's just dive straight in. So there are a lot of specific things that we're going to be sharing going forwards in the next few minutes, but I do want to tell you that you don't need to go crazy with this stuff. Here are the things that you really need to focus on. So we want to focus first on adding elements that can be implemented universally across the site on every single product page so that we're getting a lift across the entire website. Yes, it's great actually getting new photos for one specific product or adding more reviews for an individual SKU, but we're looking for a lift everywhere. And what's going to have the biggest impact across the site is stuff that we can quickly apply to all pages. Now, once you've applied all of the improvements to all pages, then you can get into improving individual product pages, starting with your top seller and moving down the list so that you get the highest leverage on the improvements that you're making. So make sure you tick off the basics from this list. And if you're ever in doubt on what to do, and you're going to see me reference this quite a few times in the next few minutes, then go to Amazon, take a look at their product pages. You're looking at the most well-optimized e-commerce store in the entire world. It's not just because they have a huge customer base that's successful. It's because they've spent millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars every year doing conversion rate optimization, testing, and trying to optimize and improve the structure and layout of the pages so they get the best possible checkout from their store. So if you're ever in doubt, go to their pages, check them out, copy what they're doing. That's the best thing to do. The other thing I would say is that with these improvements, make sure you kind of do your best first effort of adding a whole bunch of these low-hanging fruit improvements to your product pages. And then instead of continually testing and improving, just try to keep the product pages fixed in one place, keep that variable locked in, and start to try to test and optimize inside of your Google Ads account so you can continue to scale from the ad spend point of view, and then later revert back to testing on your e-commerce store. If you start testing both at the same time too vigorously, you're going to end up being unable to identify what variable is causing what outcome, and that could lead you to a place that's less successful than you would otherwise. And eventually, when you've really cleaned up your pages as best you can based on these 80-20 improvements that I'm sharing with you today, that's when you can venture down the route of getting a professional conversion rate optimization company like Audit, like ConversionWise, to take a more thorough look at your site and then give you new designs for pages that you can add to your existing setup so that you get a further boost from there. So as we go through this list, you'll see that I keep saying the words above the fold, above the fold. Above the fold is the section that you see when you first land on a product page. And it's the most crucial piece of the page because it's the first thing that people will see when they land, and it may be the only thing they see if they decide to leave based on what they see above the fold. That also means that if you get this part right, you can pretty much stuff up or do average on the rest of the page, and you're still going to have a pretty good conversion rate because this has such a huge impact on your eventual result from this site. So number one, and this is going to be more about the flow from Google to your product page, but you need to make sure that the search term that someone types in matches not just the ad that they see when they're actually in Google search results and they're looking for something to click on, but it also matches the title of your product. Now, this is obviously important from a feed point of view, which we have a separate video on, but just purely from a conversion rate optimization point of view, you need to make sure that the title of your product matches what the person's looking for. So in this case here, if I'm typing in 2-carat diamond engagement ring, the ad's gonna say 2-carat, and the actual product page needs to say 2-carat, or I'm pretty much gonna leave because I'm not gonna see that I'm in the right place. Another example would be if I'm searching for collagen. Well, collagen complex, it's right here. I don't have to look around to see if this is collagen or not. I know that I'm in the right place. So the next recommendation is product reviews. Now, this is a pretty obvious one. However, you would be maybe surprised at how many e-commerce stores don't have any reviews or stars or anything on their page, and they're competing with people who do. And in general, people will buy from a store that has shown some signs of life, that isn't a ghost town, and that looks like other people have had a good experience with. A lot of drop shippers, if they're launching a new store, they literally won't even launch until they have reviews. That's how crucial reviews are to conversion rate. If you don't have reviews, it's probably giving you at least a 50 to 70% hit to your conversion rate. Here's how you should set it up. So Amazon obviously does it like this, just below the header. 4.5 out of 5 with 56,000 ratings. That's obviously ideal scenario. You can just have the 5 stars here as well. And as a bonus, you can even have stars in your seller ratings in your ad itself. So you definitely want to have some stars on your product pages towards the top, usually around the headline and the product title. And you can see another example here with 500 reviews, always at the top, pretty prominent, definitely stands out. It's hard to miss when you have yellow stars on, you know, a gray and black and soft colored page. Now, if you don't have product reviews, and a lot of companies don't, or at least a lot of companies have maybe so many products that it's hard to get reviews for every single one, what can you do to still get the benefit of this without doing anything disingenuous? Well, in this case here, this is a pretty good example where they're actually using company reviews on this site. So these are pretty generic sounding reviews. They're obviously not for this specific product, but they're probably real reviews for people that have bought from this company, and the same reviews can be applied across every product page. You know, here's what customers say about buying from us. And this is an easy way to get social proof on every product page without waiting, 3 months or a year even to collect reviews across everything. You can also have a Google customer review widget or any other kind of social proof widget that you can install on the product page and have kind of firing on every page on the site, so that you can still get the benefit of social proof even if you don't have reviews across every product. Next, you really want to have short, snappy benefits that are really easy to read to describe your product in the initial section of the product description. So sometimes you'll land on a product page and there'll be an essay description without any paragraphs even, that's so hard to read that you simply give up and leave and go back to the Google search results. What works a lot better is having benefits to describe your product that are really punchy, that really get to the heart of why your product is so good, and that's easy to read and digest because it's broken up into really tight bullet points rather than a long paragraph or something like that. Next, if you can say the number of customers that have bought from your site, that is huge social proof, even over and above having 5-star reviews, because it indicates that you're an established company with a huge base of loving customers and excited and happy customers who buy from you repeatedly. And to take social proof to the ultimate level, it really makes a lot of sense to have photo testimonials and even video testimonials if you can get them. So in this case here, there are a huge number of photo testimonials very close to the top of the page. They're not hidden down the bottom. Another example would be here. As I scroll down, there's a whole section here with photos of customers. So the key elements of an ideal customer testimonial are the photo, the stars on the page, the obviously the quotes, and you can edit that quote down so it's short and succinct and has the main point. And then the name of the person and even the location of the person, or perhaps even when they bought, just to make it as real and trustworthy and authentic seeming as possible so that people know it is a real review and you haven't just made something up. So now that we've built social proof on the product page, we actually need to start looking at the next stage of getting someone to buy from us, which is kind of reversing the risk of doing business with us. So if I buy from you and there's a chance that the product sucks and I lose my money, I'm probably not going to take the risk unless I already really trust you. And a lot of the time, cold traffic doesn't really know you from a bar of soap, and we have to do a big job at convincing them that we can be trusted and that there's little to no downside from buying from us. So in this case here, having a money back guarantee is an excellent way to do this. This is pretty much mandatory. I mean, again, think about it like this. If they can buy from Amazon where they know they can return the product if they get it back within 30 days, or you where there's no chance that they'll ever get their money back even if the product's terrible, they're obviously going to choose from Amazon. We have to be as good, if not better than Amazon, assuming that we're selling products that they're selling. And even if they're not selling our products, we need to be on that same level because that is what the consumer base is used to. In addition to having a money back guarantee, you could also have a very generous return policy. So money back guarantees if they're not happy, but then the return policy could be, if there's some issue with it, that they can ship it back to you and you're willing to cover it for a longer period of time. Getting it delivered by a certain date also really increases trust. So this was an element that you will see very often on Amazon. They'll tell you the date that things are going to get delivered by, but it also shows up especially on higher average order value sort of sites. For example, here, a site that was selling jewelry, they're saying estimated delivery Monday, January 30th with free shipping, or get it by Thursday, Jan 26th with express shipping if you order within the hour. So not only is it creating urgency to order, but it's also creating certainty that my order is actually going to arrive. And this is extremely powerful. Next, you definitely want to have secure and verified payment processing icons on the site. It's a bit of an old school trick having a Visa logo and, trusted payment processor and, 100% secure using bank level security, but it's still effective. The only places that can get away with not using this are places that people already trust. Other trust badges you can add include badges around sustainability, if that's an angle that your store goes down, whether the product's being made in a particular country, and even satisfaction guarantee, so that over and above them just being able to return it if they have a defect, you're actually going to take care of them even if they're just not happy with the product. And last thing, again, having an actual money back guarantee listed not just once on the page, but multiple times down the page, repeating yourself several times through that entire product page. That's how you can really emphasize and make real that you will stand by these offers and these benefits that you're promoting at the top of the page. And that really emphasizes to that potential customer that they really do get a 30-day money back guarantee, or they really will get the product shipped to them the next day, or free shipping or whatever. So that they don't question it simply because they've seen it once and then they sort of move on. Now, if you can add even further credibility to your brand by having a as seen in or featured on icon or logo, then that does take things a step further. Obviously, you can actually even pay to be featured on certain blogs and news sites, but especially if you can create one that looks legitimate and that really does add to the trust levels of the store, that's also going to really improve how many people are willing to do business with you. Now, to get a little more into what your product copy should be like, ideally you have a whole section just below the fold that is all about why buy your product and why your product's the best and why it's better than any alternative out there. So you can have this in a few ways. You can have a how it works section. So you can see a section here that shows a how it works section. You can have a what the product contains section, which you can see here. You can also have a see the difference before and afters if you can demonstrate your product. And even better, you can also add a comparison checklist that shows why your product is superior to any competitor out there. Now, this makes a lot more sense if you're selling your own product, but if you're selling a third-party product, you can still create these elements on your site for that other brand that you're selling so that you can incorporate some of what your advantages are when you have this on your product page. So this is one of the most crucial pieces of this entire process, and I'm hoping that you've got to this point in the video and you haven't skipped or left, because if you missed this part here, then even having the rest of the page looking good is still not going to perform that well. And that is having a big and unmissable add to cart button. So sometimes what you'll see on a product page is the add to cart button is hidden, 3 or 4 scrolls down, or it's very small, or it just says buy now potentially, which often doesn't actually convert as well. That's why you'll see most highly optimized stores will use add to cart rather than buy now or order now. Often the button is in a dark color. Now, if the rest of your page is focused on product images and you've got the stars, then maybe you do want to de-emphasize it somewhat because you do want to build that trust first. But in general, you should have a bright, bold button color. In fact, the Amazon color is known to probably be the best color you can have as your call to action button. But at the very least, it has to be large, it has to be prominent. You can't miss this button or you're not going to be able to buy. So here are some examples here of add to cart buttons that are pretty prominent, that are large, and that are all above the fold so that you don't even need to scroll to see what to do next and what to do to actually check out and purchase. Now, photos are a tricky one because it's difficult to get good photos, especially if you're, drop shipping, for example. But even if it's your own product, how do you get good photos? Well, in this case here, these photos are actually renders of the product. So that's what you can do if you're really at a pro level. But otherwise, you just need to get a photo that clearly shows the product, usually with a white background. In fact, it actually has to be with a white background if you're going to run this photo in Google Shopping. But generally speaking, you do want to have a clear, clean image without any overlays or anything on it so that the image doesn't get disapproved by Google, that just demonstrates the product and what it looks like, especially if you've got some element to the product that is, if it's in a container or something, if you can show what the actual substance looks like, as you can see here, that is also better. But on top of that, the second kind of photo you really need to have is you need to show your product in use. So, if you have a golf product, obviously you've got a photo of it, and then you've got a photo of someone using it. If you've got a skincare product, a photo of the actual branding and the container, and then a photo of someone actually using it. Same thing with pillows, same thing with jewelry. People want to see what the product is going to look like if they were to buy it. And by putting it in this context, you're simply going to help them visualize exactly what the experience is once the product actually arrives on their doorstep. So it's definitely important to have photos of the product that are clear and have multiple photos at that. In fact, you'll see here on this page, we've got 1, then we've got 2, 3, 4 photos of the actual product, and then several photos of the before and after and people using the product. And most highly optimized stores will have at least 5 to 10 photos of each product. And on top of that, they'll have photos of people using the product, implementing it, applying it to themselves, and generally demonstrating the benefits of that particular product so you could see clearly and visually why you should buy. So we've talked about the above the fold section, but what's really important is not only having the right elements, but not wasting a bunch of space so that people have to scroll to see the rest of the page. So in this case here, this particular site had a pretty big banner at the top that just didn't do anything to sell the product, and it forced people to have to keep looking to find the information they wanted. Whereas this case, you can see that no space has been wasted. As soon as you land, you see exactly what you want, you see exactly what the product is, why you should buy it, and you've got trust elements there so that you know that this company is one that you can order from. Now, next is one that a lot of people forget about, even though it is very obvious, but if it takes me 10 seconds to see your page, you've already lost me. I'm going back to Google. I'm looking at the next result out there. So page load speed is something that you have to optimize and clean up, especially on mobile, because mobile inherently loads pages more slowly. It has to kind of load it in this long scrolling screen rather than everything on that page at once. And so typically mobile load speeds will be slower, but you still need that page to load within 5 seconds. If it's going to take more than 10 seconds, you're going to have a huge bounce rate and conversion rate is really going to suffer. So there are 3 tools that you can use to test the load speed of your site. And you kind of want to get an average of all 3 because they do tests slightly differently and from different locations, different servers, etc., and also different devices. But you can use Page Speed Insights, you can use tools.pingdom.com, and you can also use GT Metrics with an X. And by plugging your site into those 3 pages, you can do a test, you can see what the load speed of your landing page or your product page is, and then you can see exactly the elements that are slowing that page down, whether it's a slow server, whether it's large images that you need to optimize. And you can go to imagecompressor.com to upload them and shrink the size and reduce the load speed of those images. Whether it's just JavaScript or plugins or something that are slowing the page down, whatever it is that you need to do, the faster the page loads, the higher the conversion rate will be at the end of the day. And it's one of the most crucial elements of a product page is that you can quickly see the information you want and be able to make a decision and click on that buy now button. So the load speed is one element where desktop and mobile have to be looked at independently, because you can have a super fast desktop page and a very slow mobile page. And it's absolutely no different when it comes to page layout and optimization for mobile versus desktop versions of your page. So in this case here, I'm actually showing what the mobile version looks like. If you actually go right click and inspect elements and then click this little button here, you can view the desktop or tablet version and what the mobile version of the site looks like at your end. And you need to make sure that the key elements that we're talking about here are all extremely easy to access and are all visible without too many scrolls on mobile. Again, if you've got lots of content, you have to scroll all the way down the page to actually find that call to action button, or to find the testimonials, or to find the benefits of the product, then you're already going to be losing people. And mobile is usually going to make up more than 50% of the traffic coming to your site, especially from Google Ads. So another example of a great mobile page is this site here. Again, we've got a little banner at the top, which is a great way to re-emphasize some of the elements that we're trying to push: guarantees, free shipping, etc. And then within literally half a scroll, we're seeing the add to cart button and a testimonial and a guarantee and the delivery rules. So this is a crucial way that you can actually really start to squeeze more from your mobile pages, especially if you've never really optimized them. That usually can be huge low-hanging fruit in an account, because so much of the traffic you're getting is coming from mobile, and so much of that traffic is normally bouncing from the page if they don't see what they want when they land. Generally speaking, your conversion rate on mobile is going to be lower than it will be on desktop, and normally buying intent's a little bit lower and people are a bit more jittery when it comes to looking at one page and swiping to the next. But you can still unlock a huge amount of extra revenue by really honing in and focusing on your mobile conversion rate. So it's definitely something you should track, and it's definitely something you should review and add key elements to make sure you're ticking all the boxes that we talked about today. So now we're into the home straight of the last few high-level recommendations that you should have on your product pages. And this one is one that Amazon uses all the time, and that is the price crossed out with your saving written either as a dollar value or percentage, and then the new price. If you have a discount running on your store and you simply say, 10% off, and then you show someone a price, you're not really getting the benefit of that discount, because that person doesn't really have the context or isn't willing to really calculate what they would have paid without that discount. So it's up to you to tell them what they would have paid and to tell them what their saving would be. And this is a much better way to get the most out of your coupons, out of your promos, and out of your sales, or even to just have a permanent reduction on the price running that is going to help get people to actually click that add to cart button and buy. So second last, we've got free shipping. Now this is one that most people know about at this stage, but if you don't, there have been studies on this that if you have two products, one priced at $100 and one identical product priced at $120, but the $120 product comes with free shipping and the $100 product is paid shipping, which costs $20, the price is the same, but the conversion rate is always higher on the product that has free shipping, because free shipping is that last objection that people have when they go all the way through the checkout and they see that extra cost. That's just that little piece they need to basically back out of the entire buying process and leave the store and potentially never come back. So cart abandonment is great, but ultimately having free shipping, or at least having a free shipping threshold, is pretty much mandatory. And if you look at the biggest players in e-commerce, they all either have free shipping or they have low free shipping thresholds, or they actively promote you to increase what you're ordering in order to get that free shipping and check out and buy. And the last, and I would say probably bonus, and use at your own peril conversion rate optimization hack, is adding an X remaining at this price. Now, Amazon uses this a lot. They'll sometimes kind of do it 50-50, where they'll say 8 left in stock, as you can see here, but more on the way. So, if you really want it now, go ahead and order, or you may have to wait some time. That's basically the implication. And that does increase the scarcity and the urgency around buying. But the people that use this to the greatest effect, at least from what I've seen, are actually airlines. So buying an airline ticket is an e-commerce purchase, and the airlines know better than anything that if someone wants to fly and they're kind of umming and ahhing about buying the ticket right now, we just need to push them over the edge by telling them that there's only one ticket available on that particular flight. So sometimes they'll do things like, 3 seats remaining at this price, and they can legitimately do that because after these seats are gone, they'll just increase the price for the remainers. But sometimes they'll say, oh, there are only 2 seats left on the entire plane. And often if you go back to the configuration of your booking and you try to order or try to book 5 seats and you go all the way through again, it'll suddenly say, oh, 7 seats remaining. So there's a little bit of a gray area going on there, but ultimately having X remaining at this price is super effective. It does create that scarcity and that urgency even more effectively than having a limited time deal. And so it's something you could definitely test, especially if you are legitimately limited in stock, which many people are. So that pretty much wraps it up. If you go ahead and implement even half of these improvements, you will see your conversion rate skyrocket. And I actually want to hear, if you do go out and improve your pages, how much of an improvement you get and whether or not you can see yourself implementing more of these in the future. The resources and the full list of improvements will be linked in the description, so you can go ahead and view this list at your leisure. If I was to really focus out of this entire list, I would be probably focusing on the following. We'd obviously want the title and the product description because those are crucial for your shopping feed. We'd want the big call to action button. We'd want the really good images. We'd want the social proof, testimonials, and photos of people, happy using the product. And we'd want the page load speed. And those out of everything would pretty much cover 80% of your bases from this list. But if you can go through the rest, you're going to see such a huge improvement in conversion rate. It's going to unlock so much extra capacity in your Google Ads account that you're going to have a completely different setup on your hands, because all of a sudden you're going to be making a bigger return from your existing spend. You're going to have higher conversions across all of your campaigns, and you're going to be able to push more spend to products that do well and squeeze even more out of them. So you're really going to be able to scale in a way that just is not possible with a bad or even an average conversion rate. Any account of ours that does incredibly well, that's spending 6 figures or more per month, those accounts have to have a very, very high conversion rate in order to do so typically, in order to actually make it profitable to spend such an amount on a monthly basis. So hopefully you've got a lot of value from this video and you're going to test implementing some of these improvements. And if you want us to review your product pages and give you our take on exactly what we can see is missing and what elements need to be added to quickly improve performance, as well as looking at your account from a Google Ads perspective so that the two are working together, which is generally optimal, then you can go ahead and book a free account review and audit by clicking the link in the description below. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you there if you're interested. Again, all of the resources will be linked in the description, so go ahead and grab those. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.